Platforms like MailChimp and ConvertKit are charging users way more than they need to spend, especially as your list grows. So today I'm going to break down how Brevo may be a better alternative, and we'll cover how it compares on pricing, what features you get, and a step-by-step walkthrough of exactly how it works. And stick around because I'll also explain some of the downfalls of Brevo too, so you make sure that you are making the right choice. So Brevo, formerly known as Sendinblue, is an all-in-one email marketing platform built for small businesses and creators. Now, unlike some of the flashier tools out there, Brevo focuses on delivering core features like email campaigns, automation, SMS marketing, and even has landing pages all under one roof. Now, if you're the kind of person who wants, solid marketing tools without jumping between 5 different platforms, Brevo is what you're looking for. It's especially strong for people that are running service-based businesses, whether that's a coaching offer, a brick and mortar store, or even a, solo consulting gig. One of the biggest draws? Well, by clicking on this link right up here, you can get started completely free. And that's not a free trial, it's a true free plan that gives you automation, contact management, and campaign tools out of the box. It's not the best plan that they have, and we'll talk about that, but it's more generous than most. So if you've been overwhelmed by the complexity or cost of other tools, Brevo might be your shortcut to getting an actual marketing system up and running without paying monthly fees from day one. But pricing is where things really start to kind of separate Brevo from the pack. So let's break that down. Now, Brevo takes a flexible approach to pricing. So instead of charging based on how many contacts you have, it charges based on how many emails you actually sent. And that's a big plus for growing businesses that don't want to get penalized just for building a bigger list. You see, most of the platforms out there, they will charge you for the number of subscribers that you have, not for how many emails that you actually sent. And trust me, after 10 years of experience, that really adds up quick. Now, the free plan, it lets you send up to 300 emails per day and includes automation, contact management, and transactional emails. It's solid for getting started, though your emails will have Brevo branding and some features are kind of limited. But the starter plan, which is the first paid plan, begins at $8 a month for 5,000 emails. It removes the daily limit, adds better analytics, and gives you the option to remove Brevo branding as well. It's a really good fit for small businesses that are ready to grow. Now, the business plan, that starts at $16 per month and includes more advanced tools, which is things like A/B testing, send time optimization, landing pages, and multi-user support. It's really designed for those who rely on email to help really grow their business. Now, for larger teams, there's an enterprise plan with custom pricing and features like dedicated support and advanced integrations. Brevo also offers a pay-as-you-go credit system, which is perfect if you only send emails occasionally and don't really want a huge monthly bill. Now, compared to platforms like MailChimp or ConvertKit, Brevo is usually more affordable, especially if you're sending a high volume of emails. It gives you room to grow without locking you into like a big monthly cost for your business, which can be a big deal in the beginning. Okay, so I'm gonna do a walkthrough of Brevo now. So if you're kind of contemplating whether or not this is right for you, what would probably be best if you click on the link right up here. That way you can actually sign up and walk through step by step with me. And then I can actually show you every step of the process because I think that's probably the best way for you to learn. So go ahead and click on the link and we'll get started. Okay, so assuming that you clicked on the link there, you're gonna go ahead and be brought to this page right here. So just go ahead and put your email address in and then click on sign up free. You'll be able to actually get into there. And then once you're in, you're gonna be met with this page here. Okay, so this page here, this is the main homepage of the entire platform, right? Now, obviously, when you're setting up, they want to know your business name, all that. I didn't want to go through that in this whole process because you can figure all that stuff out, right? But this is the actual page that you're going to see. And the way that this is organized is on the left side is the navigation. And then, right up here, if you have to handle anything related to your account, you can do that. And also you can see the usage and plan here, which is good. So I'm gonna go step by step and just explain what each of these are, and then we'll actually dive into them a little bit. So the contacts page, this is where you have all the information of contacts. I do wanna mention I do use Brevo, but This is a new account, and I did this because I didn't want to share a bunch of people's information that didn't agree to that. So I can't really, want to make sure I don't make anyone mad. So I didn't do that. But this is the contact section where you have all the contacts that you've, have filled out forms to get on your list. Next, we have different campaigns. So campaigns that you have actually ran, and then also different statistics and settings around those. Automations. So this is, in my opinion, one of the best things, especially like small businesses. If you don't have a lot of time, it's great. Automations, this is big because you can basically create an automation to where, if someone signs up today, you can send them an email in 3 days, 5 days, 7 days, and send 3 different emails without doing anything. So you basically write the email once, you put it in the schedule, you press, create, and then make it active. And then what will happen is as that person, if they sign up today, 3 days from now, they'll get an email, 5 days, 7 days, and you won't do anything. And that'll happen forever. So anybody that signs up today or 2 weeks from now, they'll go on that same cadence. So this is actually very powerful, something that I absolutely love. Transactional. Now this is if you have an e-commerce store, right? This is something where you can set up what they call SMTP, which basically makes it so that if somebody makes a purchase, it can send them an email, etc. I'm not going to dive too deep into transactional because when it comes to e-commerce stuff, not that I never deal with it, but I don't think most people are here for that. So, transactional, it can be used for, there's different steps to it, but we won't focus a ton on that. And then next we have conversations. This is just something that's a little bit newer built into the platform. So if you want to have conversations across different platforms, like a chat widget or WhatsApp, email, Facebook, etc., you can actually build this in through their API, and it allows you to, as a bigger brand, if you have to answer a bunch of customer inquiries and things like that, you can actually go into here and manage it all in one place, which is nice. I don't know that everyone needs it, but it is a nice little feature. Deals here. This is going to be a page where you really can focus on pipeline, and if you have, this is really for higher ticket items. But if you have, let's say you're a pool company, and every single person that signs up, they'll buy a $50,000 pool from, doing it from scratch, design, et cetera, or $100,000 pool. You could have, this is kind of like their CRM, if you will. And this is basically what that means is that this is the place where you can put that person's information. And then every time that somebody is conversing with that person or whatever, they update the notes. And then we move it to the next stage and the next stage, so you can kind of watch your deal flow. Again, I don't know that everyone here needs that, but it is something that they have available. Meetings, this is, it's as simple as just basically a place to schedule meetings. If you want to, within Brevo, you can do that. And then you can meet, using other platforms out there as well. And then calls, this is if you actually want to have a phone number attached to the business, you can get the number as you see here, and you can manage the phone calls from desktop or mobile, right? Now, for the sake of this, review/tutorial, what we're really gonna do, I'm just gonna focus mostly on the contacts, campaigns, automation stuff. The other stuff definitely has its use case, but that's really what we'll focus on here. Okay, so first is contacts, and this is myself here, right? But with each contact, when you actually click into them, you can get really specific. Let me close it out. You can get really specific about everything that person has actually done when they join, right? This was added on April 10th was when I created the account. Any emails that you sent to them, how many were delivered, meaning how many actually ended up in their inbox, unique openings and unique clicks. In other words, how many times uniquely did they open it, not repetitive ones. So that's basically a way of looking at it. Also, you can go to history. And this is, on the every single contact. It's unlikely that you'd be in the screen often, but it's good to know that they have the info. This is kind of a history of what's been happening with the person. And then if you've added them to any lists, this will be a place for that too. Lists, when you get into this, this is basically every list that you have. And you can, going into here, you can create a list for any segment that you want. And you can also put them in folders if you need to. Now with this list, the example that I'll give is if you have, let's say you have a small car dealer, right? What you could end up doing is obviously every time somebody comes in, maybe you don't have their email yet, but when they come in, what you do is, they purchase, you get their email. What you could do is you could drop their email into a bucket or a list that would be relevant to them, right? So the first one might just be a general list, all right? And this is someone who purchased the car, didn't get any warranty, nothing like that, doesn't show many signs, or like a lower price car, doesn't show many signs of spending more money. So then you kind of throw them into a general bucket, and then that means that you can set up an automation to where every, call it 3 months or something, you email them. Then there would be someone that maybe you noticed bought a higher price car and they also got a warranty. This person you'd probably want more contact with. So you could set them in a different list where you could contact them every 2 weeks or something like that, or every month, and drop an email to them every month. The point with lists is it just lets you kind of segment in by list, and then you can set up automations around that list. So, every business is going to be different. Every single one of you, if you don't have a car dealer, you're going to be like, well, could you work in my business? Because if you're, a pool cleaner, house cleaner, anything that you are, it doesn't really matter. If you just think about how could I segment my audience and customers, that's how this works. That's why lists are valuable. So we have lists, and that's the main list. We can also just have one list and then do segments within the list. So I just talked about how you could segment your customers. You can do that in one list, or you can have multiple lists and do it that way. It really just depends on how you want to do it. Companies is here. This is mostly for agencies. So if you're working with different companies, you have to have their information. That'd be where you put all that. Landing pages, this is where you do have to upgrade. This isn't available on the free plan. But landing pages is nice. What a landing page is, if you're not familiar, very simple. A landing page is something where people can come to the page and they can very quickly and easily put in their email address and like their first name, and then you can collect leads that way. So it is obviously a very nice thing to have if you don't have a full website yet or anything like that. They also have forms, and this is basically a form where you create a sign-up form, and you essentially can make it a full page embedded or a pop-up, but basically create a form. You've seen these on websites before. You create a form, and then what you do is you make it so that if people sign up for that form, they will then import into Brevo. Okay, so they will actually be in the Brevo system as a contact. That's how that works. Now, if you're kind of like, well, I don't know all the coding around, it's really not that difficult. The full page embedded one is always a good one. If you have a page on your website, basically just gives you a snippet of code. You copy and paste the code, and then all of a sudden that little sign up form is going to show up on your site. So pretty easy to handle that. Settings, I won't get into all this now, but this basically gets into all the different settings you can do around contacts. Campaigns. So this is, if you want to launch a campaign around your clients, this is the way to do it, right? So the difference between campaigns, automations, campaigns and automations. Campaigns are one-off emails. Campaign is, I have some new news, maybe you're a local business and you're changing locations, or I don't know, you just added 5 staff members and you're expanding, something like that, or you just want to let everyone know of a special event that you're doing a fundraiser, things like that. What you would do is you come here into campaigns and you can click on any of these. So we could do a web push, WhatsApp, SMS, or email. Obviously, for these, you'd have to have the person's contact information. But let's assume that you're doing email, because that's really the bulk of what most people do. So if we click on email, what you can do is you can actually create a campaign name, and then it'll walk you through the process, basically give you a blank page where you can essentially write the email that you want. You press send, and then it'll push out to all of the contacts that you want to push out onto, right? So if you don't want one list to get it and you want the other list to get it, you can segment that, etc. if you want to. A lot of powerful segmentation features inside of Brevo for that stuff. But basically, it just makes it so that if you want to reach out to everyone in a one-off situation, you can do that pretty easily. Templates. So if you create templates because you're always doing a similar type of campaign, you could do that. I actually recommend it. It just makes it a lot easier. Statistics here. This is going to show you the statistics around how many people are opening your emails. So let me close that. How many people are actually opening your emails, meaning it arrives in their inbox and they click to open it, right? So the open rate is how many times they're opening it. Click rate is how many times they're actually clicking on links inside the email. So if you have links inside the email, it'll be that. It also shows you sent, how many were sent, how many recipients, how many opened it, how many clicked, how many unsubscribed, how many replied, and then how many were soft or hard bounces. What a bounce is basically that means that you sent the email and it didn't get delivered for whatever reason, right? So there's that, and then more settings into campaigns. We won't get into it now, but there are a lot of customizations. I'll click into it just so you can see. But there's a lot of different segmentations and things that you can do. Google Analytics is here, webhooks if you want to do further integration. I'm trying to keep things simple here, but there is a lot of customization that you can do. Now, automations, in my eyes, this is really where the money's made, right? So automations are the big one. So like I said, if you're a car dealer, you set up an automation to contact them every time. If you're a plumber, maybe every 2 weeks or every week, you have an email that goes out to them. really the idea behind it is just to keep you top of mind, right? Because if you stay top of mind and you're the one plumber in this instance that arrives in their inbox when they have a plumbing issue and they've been like, yeah, I got to get in touch with a plumber, and all of a sudden you arrive, they may just reply back and say, hey, can you come by for a quote? I just have to check something with you, right? That's kind of why these are so powerful. So if you're thinking, oh, I don't know if it applies to my business, it absolutely does, okay? So you create any automation, very easy to do. I love how they actually have pre-built automation types. So you can go into here and you can see all of them. But I like increased traffic, marketing activity, website event, all those things, page visit. I love these, or building relationships is a big one too. Obviously the welcome message, marketing activity or anniversary date. Doing these things and just consistently reaching out. And like I said, one of the best parts of Brevo is after you set it up with these automations, it'll just happen, right? So I love these pre-built automations. A lot of the platforms do not have this. I've used a lot of them, they do not have this. You can also create from scratch if you want to. I recommend that you use a new editor, but you can create from scratch. And when you do that, we actually go into here and you can see, what is a trigger? Well, when the contact is added to the list, select the list. I don't know which list is actually active right now. Let's see here. Yeah, we'll say that one. When they are added to a list, right? Let's save. Add the contact to list, and then we want to send an email, right? And just so that we're clear, so let me save this real quick. So this will allow you to actually design the email. We already talked about how you would design emails. This is where you can do that. Subject line, preview text. You can click and select template or just create a whole new one. Oh, it's going to make me do something here. Well, the point is, what I'm going to show you is that you don't necessarily, right, have to go exactly with what we have. We have the triggers here, right? Because there's a lot of different triggers. So if an email was opened, if an email was clicked, all these different triggers can be the first step in an automation. So in other words, if you send an email and you want to make it so that if the person clicks the link, then we will follow up with them. So like we'll use a plumber example. If you're a plumber and you send a special deal, a 20% off, offer, basically you can make it so that if you send that email and then they see the 20% off and they click on a link to go to your website to learn more or whatever, if they click on that, then in Brevo, you will know that they clicked on that link and you can set up an automation behind it. And you can basically say, hey, I know that they clicked on the 20% off. So you could say 3 days from now, hey, only 5 more days for 20% off. And you can basically build urgency and get them to actually call you or email you or whatever it is. Basically just knowing what they're doing activity on their end, and sending an automation behind that. So it's really powerful stuff. You can really get into the weeds here. But the point is that, they have these triggers, they have all these different actions, right? So if they do any of these different things here, well, the trigger is what they do. The action is what you do, right? So if they do any certain things, and then also there's rules behind it, which is nice. So if the contact is added to the list, this would mean what we have it right now. This would mean, oh, they're going to arrive to the list, or they're going to be added to the list, and then boom, we're going to send an email right away. That's not really that good. That's not that organic, right? So maybe you say, you know what? I don't really want to do that. Let's do a little bit of a time delay, and let's wait, 2 hours. Okay, so they get added, then they'll wait 2 hours, and then we'll send our welcome email to them, the first email, right? So again, there's a ton of different things that you can do here. It's hard to break it down in one simple, review, if you will. But this is extremely powerful stuff if you do it properly, right? And any local business really would benefit from this sort of thing, just because there's so much that you can do. Logs, this will actually log all the information around the emails that you're sending. So it's kind of like the analytics of the emails that you're sending in your automation. So if you have 10 emails sent up and you want to see, hey, how many people are actually opening these? How many people are clicking on links? It'll have all that information there. Email templates. So this is the templates. Again, I recommend that if you create an automation, that you actually have it. It goes back to here on the campaigns template page. But basically with automations, you should have a template. The reason being you want it to look the same every time, right? That's really the key to the whole thing. And then also they get into settings here, which, it can tell you more about, Brevo Tracker. this basically lets you know about real-time activity, which is pretty neat. I have used it once before. I think it's overkill. I don't think you really need it, but it is cool that they have that for sure. Like any platform, Brevo has its strengths and a few drawbacks that you'll want to know before diving in. So on the pro side, Brevo is one of the most affordable email marketing tools out there, especially as your list and your sending volume grow. The free plan is generous, but the paid plans, they scale nicely as well. And you're not locked into high pricing just because you have a large number of contacts. That really is a big deal. It also packs a lot into one platform. So you get the email campaigns, you get automations, transactional emails, SMS messaging, landing pages, and even a lightweight CRM platform to kind of keep in touch with everyone, all in one dashboard. Now, for small businesses that want to keep things simple, that all-in-one setup can be a big win. Another plus is that automation and segmentation are available even on the free plan, which isn't something that you see with most competitors. But now let's go on to the cons. So the interface, it isn't the sleekest, right? It works, but it can feel a little clunky or outdated compared to newer tools at different times, especially if you're just getting started. Integration-wise, Brevo doesn't have the deepest app ecosystem. You can still connect it with tools like Shopify or WordPress, but compared to platforms like ActiveCampaign or MailChimp, your integration options may be a little bit more limited. Now, for online businesses, this can be a problem, but if you have a local or an offline business, it's unlikely to really be a problem as Brevo has all that you really need on the platform itself. Now, support on the lowest plan is also hit or miss. They do offer help docs and email support, but live chat and priority service are mostly reserved for higher plans. But overall, if you're looking for a cost-effective, all-in-one tool, Brevo is a solid choice. But if you need deep integrations or rely on advanced workflows, you may want to test Brevo first to see if it has the integrations that you need before you get deep into the platform. Now, if you're thinking about giving Brevo a shot, I would appreciate it if you would use my affiliate link right up here. I've also dropped that below, where you can sign up for the free plan and test it for yourself. And as always, if you have any questions for me, please just drop them in the comments below. I always try to reply the best that I possibly can. And if this video helped you, hit the like button and also subscribe. And thanks so much for watching, and I will see you in the next video.